The national curators of 30 countries responded to our call for gathering today. Thank you for joining us. Hashim's question of how will we live together is vital one on a global scale and a representative of our various countries. The Biennale is a remarkable opportunity for us to explore what that togetherness might actually look like.
Thank you so very much for bringing us together at the moment where we were supposed to meet. I have to say that there are quite a few similarities between this moment and the moment we would have been living in Venice at this time. We are fortunate in that we have built a community that will get only stronger across the different nations, and that we will be able to work together in a way that we wouldn't have been able to before. So for everything you have been doing towards that end, and for all of the ideas that you have shared with us on Monday, when you each propose different ways we can remain connected, we can use this year to cultivate relationships, I am extremely grateful. Our cheers. I love you all. I really think that this is going to be a truly special Biennale.
I think that's a very good decision to have a much more festive occasion to meet with a lot less risk of hazards.
We like to express our full support for Hashim, the decision to postpone the opening of the Biennale.
And it's very nice to hear you all, to meet you here in this digital space. Maybe it's a kind of digital pavilion as well.
For everyone to come together and develop different sort of ways of exchanging ideas.
Even the press conference being on Zoom meant that it allowed a lot of us to participate when we probably wouldn't have been able to get to Venice.
Talking about postponement, I think it was a good decision because if it had been held in August, it would have been difficult for some countries.
We were thinking like of fairness of the situation.
I'm Svetlana Perovic, a curator of the Montenegrin Pavilion. I hope you are doing well. We will send you a proposal via email in the next few days.
I must say on behalf of the curator for Croatia, Idis Turato, and the rest of the team standing behind the project Togetherness, Togetherless, thank you for the invitation.
In the first participation in an architectural biennale, so I'm honored to be part of the curator team.
Thank you very much for this initiative. It's very special and very unprecedented.
As architects, as usual, we never been able to, let's say, to be in the communication as well as other categories. We have never been as good as other categories.
This extra time allows us to question the openness of the question itself.
Now this ongoing pandemic adds another layer to the equation. We worry that the aftermath of this situation will end up with more people being afraid of other people.
I think it's an opportunity for us to share, discuss, and to make something together.
We're initiating a collaborative design and build project with the Filipino community in Venice and Mestre, so we're open to exploring these possibilities of collaboration.
Somehow using the opportunity of the change of the space of exchange to think of the different form of production. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward, and I'm hoping that this will somehow open the series of discussion.
We now have 1 year to rethink a little bit the content of the exhibition, and of course think this new reality we are all living together.
A really important question that could be explored and could become a part of the Biennale itself.
We hope that we can get to a common conversation and it can be reflected in our pavilion as well.
Always my heart was thinking we need to bring our voices together to make this event even more important, and in the sense that what we're saying is important and should be heard from many people.
Maybe we can curate some events so that several people would be asked to speak or to discuss or to lead discussions in certain issues that we are all facing together.
If it's can we really produce something interesting together or have some kind of exchange that wouldn't happen in Venice? I think that's for me really the question, and it appears, despite all the difficulties to me as a unique historic opportunity.
These discussions are important, the virtual discussions, but again, nothing will replace this.
What should be the written content of this statement? And we've been wondering what kind of meaning people are making out of the situation in a transcendent way, not just focusing on our own context.
We could, a statement could be just questions. The theme of how do we live together, who is we? I mean, together, how do architects live together is a big question, and it's one of that we're trying to answer now.
And we could start discussions in these topics in a global level, and maybe the manifesto could be the first step of this. So maybe we should try to name the topics that interest us, like, for example, collective work or collective thinking, that thing that we are doing here. Maybe after writing these down, we could start a series of online discussions.
A manifesto can also be a manifestation in the sense of an object or some kind of construct, a model, a sculpture. It doesn't need to be doesn't need necessarily to be verbal.
We definitely agree about the idea of the common collective statement in August. We think it's a great idea, and the manifesto, if we prepare like a manifestation, it should become like a starting point for further reflections and stuff.
If we could form small groups or indeed, because in my opinion, in my experience, collaborative works really well if there are always a few responsible people, right? In the forthcoming month, we could work on these topics in small groups, ask each other to give input, and somehow develop an action plan.
The main thing we're thinking is something that is going to hold all of our different countries together, but also not be too intrusive and to take away from the main exhibit. So it's going to be both simple, comprehensive, and also non-intrusive if possible.
You know, it'd be really, really interesting if we found a way that we could also group into smaller groups that could discuss the thematics and the topics that we actually have in common. I mean, I feel like some pavilions are talking about the same thing that we do, but just in slightly different words. So it's like, so I would love to actually take that further if there's a way that we could, you know, really go into the themes and the topics of what we're working on.
How do we think together? Not in our own little, you know, universes that then we somehow stick it together. Not an aggregate kind of thinking, but how do we actually influence each other and change the way we see things because we've been talking to each other.
Max and Sudar, the curators of the Philippines Pavilion, we are going to host and moderate today's meeting. In Group D, Kuwait, Spain, and Lithuania. Group E is supposed to have all the remaining curators who have not chosen a topic or whom don't really have parallels.
In general, I think we share common concern of upcycling and recycling and thinking of material sustainability and critiquing in a way the modern construction methodologies and where they have taken us today and where they have placed architecture today and the problems that face us with these approaches.
Who can use this mobile pavilion that we can share in Venice? So this could be also a place that we can use for sharing discussion about the CC, but also with the different pavilion can use it.
So what we tried to grasp was the sort of, from the initial conversation, the common themes that we have before yet arriving at the proposals of what we can do for each other. And so sort of these common themes we found in the material, and which was probably wood and water.
And the title question mark was perfect for us because each of us have approached the curatorial question of how will we live together with a question. And so none of us really have a proposal or a solution. And so we are continuously questioning this concept with multiple questions.
So if we could make one step would be to make a list of those places and then see how we want to program them as a group. If we can we can do. I think that could even tie into the mobile pavilion, which could go from place to place when it goes.
We were thinking of material sharing within the pavilions, and this is just whoever is interested. So Japan Pavilion has wood that is available in Venice, and they will be using them to upcycle certain elements. But if you need wood within your pavilion, you can contact Japan to get the wood. Felipe from Peru has steel from gates that are dismantled in Peru, and you need steel, you can contact him to get steel material. We have sustainable concrete, so if you need sustainable concrete, you can contact us.
So in other words, if you want to see all the material exchanges, there will be a route on the map that will show you the pavilions that have used these material exchanges that are part of the CC. So rather than just a map of where everybody's pavilion is, which is the map anyway, but something that shows what the actual collaborations are and how you might go through them and see them.
We set out to basically formulate a statement where, of course, then a lot of questions arouse, like how to, like, what does the manifesto have any relevance today? How do we write together? How do we think together? How do we collaborate? 10 questions that you would have that concerns you in your daily life, in your architectural practice.
And then we thought that the idea of these benches could, because these areas don't belong to any pavilion or country, so they're in between spaces.
I think the innovation comes out of the urgency of solving your own needs. And this is our initiative between our neighbors, Japan, Korea, and German pavilion. We always use that grounds to communally use it for openings and vernissage and so on. So I think spatially, we're talking about also thematically, but spatially, your neighboring in between space.
It brought out this idea that communities need interior public spaces like squares, shared spaces where different groups can meet and coexist and co-create.
At least we have this ambassador that is an architect student that lives in Venice, and also to know a little bit more of the concerns Venice have. And that allows us to work together and create a space of intimacy between the Biennale and the countries that we're participating with the people who live in Venice through the students of architecture.
Before the COVID situation, the Biennale organization was quite strict. Now, the borders of the pavilion are quite clear. The public space of the Biennale is off limits.
Because some of the physical gatherings will not be possible. So we thought it could be a good idea to have a common digital space, but at the same time, thinking that it would be fantastic to have actually a space in the Biennale side, or if they could give visibility to us in order to have like a more common appearance rather than having the countries on one side and then the Biennale on one side. I totally agree that it should be a joint communication.
Your idea of trying to reach out to the whole city, maybe we could try to contact with this neighborhood organizations, associations like maybe because these are people that have a very clear idea about the city and about the neighborhoods. They might really help us to bring to the top really important questions.
This the working CC design. It kind of started, as I had mentioned last time, from when working with design for all these years. It's kind of an interesting phenomenon where the circle, if you take apart the circle and you reconfigure it, it always comes back in these really, really kind of beautiful new configurations. Looking forward to seeing what's next.
Thank you, Chris. I think we are super fortunate to have you.
We have drafted this letter and sent to the Biennale, and you all received this letter where we have asked few points the Biennale to recognize the CC and possible collaborations. And this all you are aware of this letter, and that we haven't actually received any formal reply since then. But now, after our 3 sessions of discussions and our last workshop, one of the group has contacted the foundation and now getting some feedback to possible involvement with this student ambassador.
It enables a institutional and wider collaboration with the city and its people.
Like one of the positives is like, hey, we were able to, talk, as a collective for long periods of time, more than ever, arguably, and I think that can be framed as a very positive thing, right?
I would like to welcome the new members that are here attending this meeting for the first time. I see Dalia, raise your hand.
Hello everybody, nice to meet you.
From Uruguay?
Uruguay, yes. Hi everybody. I am Federico, one of the...
I'm from Austria.
Hello
Yes.
everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes.
When these are the members of the group that have been meeting consistently every 2 weeks. Since then, I'm just going to tell you briefly about what happened. We had 52 questions. Some people kept writing more and more questions because we found that once you started writing questions, more questions came up and the questions got deeper. Glued them down on papers and began to group them. I began to realize that as the list of knots got larger, all of a sudden I had to start a new list called what are we doing? Figure out a way that those constellations of words could generate a form. So you would have your form depending on what you were trying to look for, or what you were interested in.
The target of the Project Common Space is to find a way in which we can also sustainably recycle the material that we are using to build the pavilions that we have.
As a group was really discussing what a bench could be, / what it means to us. We have started a log sheet where we are cataloging materials that will likely be, we're really interested in this idea of upcycling, reappropriating, merging, really sending the message that we would like to consider the waste that is created.
So this is a very, at least it's a very basic framework for how the website is probably going to work.
We hope that we can all gather in Venice at that time. So we were discussing whether the summer end of August would be the good time or the closing time. So this is really up for discussion. This is something that we look forward to curate together.
That we start thinking about primarily about organizing opportunities to be co-present in Venice. So very pragmatically, let's figure out what could be potential dates where we could be co-present in Venice, and then different collaborations, sometimes just bilateral collaborations.
Scheduled in this end of August time, whether we could do this both online and offline, people who cannot be present in Venice to somehow connect in.
Collaboration has been supremely meaningful and very easy to connect with, precisely because there wasn't a pressure on production from the beginning. And just as a model of collaboration, that's been the biggest value for me.
We quickly, like with minimum work effort, put them together to make, let me jump quickly, to make 4 kind of a hybrid between bench, and you can lift it up as an exhibition wall.
Do you think that could we ask the curators of the Austrian pavilion to host this midissage?
We very much would welcome that. Obviously we have very optimistic plans, but we would plan to organize something around the 28th, which would continue into the evening. So we would be certainly very happy to act as an initial platform.
Hello.
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you. Where are you? Are you in the Polish pavilion?
Yes, I'm in the Polish pavilion. Yes, so hi, hello everyone. I can actually tell you that it's been a brilliant energy from the, I guess from the perspective of our CC meetings, because even though we have been like a few days before still the previews, and we managed to meet a few times in various locations, including some fantastic meeting at the Daniel's Kovacs and the Hungarian Curators team's house.
From the Swiss pavilion. Just arrived. We had Rawan who was telling us about it a little. No.
Hello, I'm Rawan. On behalf of, I work for the National Pavilion UAE, and I'm here on behalf of Wa'il.
And the spider in the background is from a Quebec director, Denis Villeneuve, who has these giant spiders walking in a nightmare over Toronto.
Okay, so you want to see Albania?
Thank you, Alex. And our space, so Slovenia and Albania, we actually wrote a little something, which we meant to be vinyl lettering, but for some reason in the last day, it was just this sort of poster.
They are about people coming together in solidarity, people depending on each other for better living, individually and as a community. You should come over in August, we all meet. You're very welcome.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thanks for the tours.
Thank you.